What's going on today? We have the RTX 5080. This is the gaming OC version of the card by Gigabyte. We'll be pairing it with the 9800X3D and 32 gigs of RAM. All right, what's going on, everyone? We have the 5080 today, paired with a 9800X3D and 32 gigs of RAM. And we're currently on the Ultra settings, and we are on Ultra Wide, of course. We're at 3440 by 1440. We're just going to see what all the settings perform like. And, if you like this kind of stuff, please consider subscribing and let's get into it. All right, so we're about 106 FPS here. VRAM's looking pretty good. We got, 9 allocated, 7 used. So this is no surprise. This is doing pretty well. I'm running it at DLAA. There's no upscaling. There's no frame generation. So this is all pretty much native performance here. 5080 is quite a beast. So let's just keep going and see what some quality DLSS will give us, just to see, get some numbers here before we kick on ray tracing or anything else. Jump over here, go ahead and just grab my mouse. All right, so let's do a little bit of upscaling. We're going to use the transformer model, of course. We're going to go with quality. So this is everything completely maxed out without any sort of ray tracing and quality DLSS. Let's go ahead and apply that. And you can, adjust the sharpening and that kind of stuff, but that won't have any performance impact. So I don't really mess with it in these tests, but that's up to you. But it's looking like 112 FPS. That gave us a little bit of a bump. Everything still looks really nice and sharp. No complaints there at all. DLSS is quite nice. And we're at 110 FPS. That gave us a small break on our VRAM, just under 9 now. And let's just keep going and see what we can expect with a little bit more DLSS. I am going to sharpen it up just a little bit. I like it around 50 on this title. Let's go with balanced. So this is balanced, of course. Oh, that does look better. All right, so yeah, sharpening it up does help a good bit. So balance looks pretty good. I mean, we're at 130 FPS here. And of course, our VRAM allocation went down with that balanced preset activated. We're at 6.5 of used. So of course, VRAM's on 16 on this card. So we're looking just fine. No concerns there at all. Let's just go ahead and keep going and see what performance gives us. Let's go ahead and turn that on. Everything else left the same. Looking at 166 FPS here. Of course, this is without ray tracing. That's going to be quite intensive, and path tracing is going to be even more intensive. So I'm sure we'll have to use some DLSS and then maybe polish it off with some frame generation to get that nice smooth frame rate. Definitely, I think it's going to be achievable. So let's go ahead and get through all these folks here. Just ram through them. All right, so I'm going to kick on some ray tracing and jump back into it. So let's turn this back over to DLAA. We're going to kick on ray tracing. Make sure it constantly asks me that. All right, so ray tracing is low, super resolution, back to DLAA. Give it a little bit of sharpening up to 50, no frame gen, and the ray tracing, the first level, the low, just activates local shadows. So, of course, path tracing is off. So this isn't going to be too terribly bad at all. Just under 60 FPS here. So, around 60 at this particular widescreen resolution. Definitely, going to look really good once we start kicking on some DLSS here. So, pretty promising to be at 60 FPS with any amount of ray tracing going on at DLAA. So definitely, looking pretty good here. All right, so let's do that now. Let's jump over and see what we can get as far as just some DLSS quality goes on the same settings. Nothing's changed. Okay, so that gave us from 62-ish to, it almost doubled our frame rate. So that is quite nice. So we're looking pretty good here. I'm going to just keep going through these DLSS settings on this low ray tracing to see what you can expect. I like to give everybody everything. Of course, pay attention to the chapter markers. They correlate with the black bar at the top of the screen you see. If you need to move ahead, you can do that. That's no problem at all. That's why I set it up that way. So let's just keep on going and jump into the next setting. So let's go here. All right, so this will be balanced DLSS. And that gives you a nice little uptick of 120 plus, almost 130. Still looks quite nice and sharp still. Balanced, there's nothing wrong with balance at all at this resolution. I think it looks pretty good, especially, to get that frame rate up when you start enjoying some of the ray tracing and the path tracing. Path tracing in this game still looks just insane. I mean, it's still just like, it looks like a whole different generation of game. All right, so let's just see what performance does. Kind of get through this, get to the fun stuff. All right, so let's see what performance does. So we are at 151 FPS here with performance DLSS on the low ray tracing setting. Again, VRAM's under control just fine, and everything's looking pretty good. I'm going to turn on my frame view real quick, and I'll be right back. All right, so we've got the frame view turned on now, so we can start paying attention to our PCL. It kind of flickers in and out, but it will provide some indication of what our PCL is. Right now, it's at 26 milliseconds. So that looks really good. So once we start going up on some more demanding visuals, that PCL might lower a little bit. Then we'll use some DLSS hopefully to get that back up. All right, so let's jump over into the next level of ray tracing. So let's come down here and we're going to turn on, let's see, go this way. Let's go ray tracing medium and we're going to go with DLAA again. So this is ray tracing medium DLAA. And that gives us, let's see, 46 FPS. Our PCL took a little bit of a hit. It's still under 50 milliseconds, which is about where I like to be, but it's at 48, 50, somewhere around there. Of course, VRAM is up because we're not upscaling, so right at just under 12. So still got plenty of headroom on our VRAM, but we'll see what it takes to get that down and get this frame rate back up to at least 60 plus. This game is not a super very reactive game. I mean, to a certain degree it is, I guess, with the first person shooter element of it. But if we can maintain plus 60 with frame gen, I think that'll be a pretty good way to play it. So let's do that now. Let's jump over and start kicking on some DLSS, get this PCL down and the frame rate up, leaving everything else alone. As you can see, all ray tracing medium does is it turns on these sun shadows, not reflections yet. Reflections are very intensive, so it kind of saves that for the high setting. But yeah, right now we're at 34 milliseconds, and everything looks like pretty good. I mean, 87 FPS here. VRAM's under control, just under 12. Got a little break on it from the upscaling, which is always nice. Gives us some room for frame generation later. All right, so let's just keep on going through some of these other settings here. Let's jump into it. Go to settings, and we're going to go over to balance. Let's check out balance DLSS here at the medium ray tracing level. 9600 FPS here. 31 on your milliseconds on your PCL, so that looks really good. Of course, your VRAM got a little bit of a break from the upscaling, so this setting looks really good. Not path tracing yet. That's kind of the thing that I'm anxious to get covered here for you. But all right, so this is performance DLSS. All right, I'm back after a little crash. Sometimes when I'm changing these settings so fast, it does present some instability, but for the most part, we should be okay. So this is performance DLSS, medium ray tracing, 111 FPS. Got a nice break on our VRAM, though. We're under 10 gigabytes now, so that's pretty promising. I'm going to kick it over to the high ray tracing, just so we can see what that does before we jump into path tracing and then eventually some frame generation on top of that to really see what we can expect from this card. All right, so I'm going to do that now and jump right back into it. So let's go back to settings. Let's kick it over to Ray Tracing Ultra, DLAA, just to get a baseline. Everything's maxed out except for your path tracing right here. So everything looks like it's going to be pretty much maxed out without path tracing. So this is going to be a nice thing to test because it's going to give us what a no upscale version would look like. So that's still 43 FPS, which gives me some that's pretty promising sign that DLSS is going to take care of it. You can start seeing some of those reflections really coming through in the puddles on the ground. Some of this lighting definitely has some ability to light the scene with its own color. So that's pretty nice. That looks really good. It's not path tracing, but it's the next best thing. All right, so let's see if we can get this up just a little bit, go into some upscaling. So we're going to kick it over and go to quality. All right, so this would be quality upscaling with ultra ray tracing. So this would not be Psycho. Psycho introduces path tracing and totally replaces all the ray tracing. This is still 77 FPS here, and our PCL is 38 milliseconds. That's pretty good. VRAM's under control just fine. If I could avoid hitting these cars in the wall, that'd be great. All right, a little bit of a Psycho driver here, but that's okay. All right, so 71 FPS looks pretty good. Nothing terribly wrong here at all. All right, so let's just keep going to the very next level. Let's go to balanced. All right, so balanced, upscaling here, 91, 92 FPS, full ray tracing, full max settings. Everything looks really, really good. Nice high frame rate, 33 milliseconds on your PCL. And, you know, I picked this scene because it's a little bit harder to run, and the speed of the car makes it a little bit more of a push on the GPU, just loading in stuff a little bit faster than walking, and it's holding up just fine. All right, so let's just keep on going, see what performance does. Let's go to performance, kick that on, and let's jump into it. All right, so we've got 100 FPS here. Everything looks really good still. Performance DLSS still looks quite nice, even at this 1440p, you know, pixel density, I guess, with better lack of a better term. But yeah, we're at 35 milliseconds. So your PCL is noticeably better with the 5080 than the 5070 Ti that I just tested in this title. It just keeps everything much more responsive. So that's one kind of notable thing about the upgrade from the 70 Ti to the 80 is just that PCL being a good bit lower generally, you know, over the course of all the different testing. So what I'm going to do now is kick on path tracing and just see how bad it is. Whatever, I mean, the path tracing is incredibly intensive. So we're going to kick off any upscaling. We're just going to go DLAA. So right here we have DLAA path tracing again, completely grays out ray tracing. It takes over everything. Everything's completely maxed out down here still. So this would just be DLAA path tracing, and it gives you 24 FPS on a 5080. I mean, this is still an incredibly intensive title. 14.7 gigs of allocated VRAM. It's using 11.12, basically 12. So yeah, this is kind of worst case scenario for the whole experience. Definitely going to be able to get this to a playable state. Our PCL's at 80 milliseconds. That's definitely pretty sloppy feeling. So let's jump over and kick on the first level of DLSS. Go to quality, see what kind of lift that gives us. That gives us from 20s to 46, much more playable for sure, 50 FPS. Still not quite that 60 we want to see, but I don't think it's going to take too much to get it to a nice playable experience with full path tracing and everything maxed out. So we are looking like 48 milliseconds. And again, with a controller, it's fine. Even with mouse and keyboard, I feel like 50 milliseconds is pretty good. So let's just keep on going and see if we can get the frame rate up and the PCL down. So we'll go to balanced. Balance probably give us that 60 we want to see. Oh man, just right at it though. I mean, that is like right at 60. But that gives us 40 milliseconds on our response, the PCL up there. So we're looking like VRAM got a nice break from the upscaling, 12.5 allocation, 9.3 used, but everything looks like we're going to be able to do it with performance. Now, you could frame generate from here. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it. I think that would be a perfectly good way to play this title if you don't want to go all the way down to performance. But I think performance does look good, especially with some additional sharpening. So we can go to performance and then bring that sharpening up to about 0.8. And that's going to make everything kind of a little bit tighter, a little bit more, you know, crispy. So I'm just going to rear end this van here. Sorry, bud. All right, so that's 70 FPS, and your PCL is 37 milliseconds. So if you're willing to go to performance, you can definitely get a nice experience here with a 5080 over 60 most of the time, pretty much all the time, because this is Dogtown. It's easily one of the more intensive areas in the whole game. So that's why I chose it. It's not broken. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just intensive. I won't test in like broken areas at all. It's just be somewhere that's simply intensive and hard to run, not exactly like messed up, you know. All right, so yes, 71, 75 FPS. So I'm going to do a restart and then jump back over into checking out some of the frame generation settings we can go through, and I'll be right back. All right, so we are back in it. Let's just kick over to our settings and see what we got here. Just a quick recap. All right, so we're going to start off on ray tracing low. And then we're going to kick on some quality. We're going to go through low, medium, high on quality with some frame gen, and then kick over to path tracing again. So this is just 2x low ray tracing, and that gives us 160 FPS on quality DLSS. This is a fantastic way to play it. I mean, 190 FPS. This is great. your PCL is way down. It's at 34 milliseconds. So again, this is just 2x. You could go up to 4x, 3x, whatever you want to do. We'll try that in a second here, just to see if it affects our PCL. Let's jump over, go to 4x. I typically just do 2 and 4. 3 is like basically right in the middle. All right, so that gives us 32 milliseconds of our PCL response time and 260 FPS. Yeah, I mean, this is well beyond the refresh rate of this panel. So there'd be really no point in me not going up in my settings, because this is just insane. The response time is quite nice to have this many frames. VRAM allocations right around 11.2. All right, so let's just keep on going up and see what we can get, like realistically what we can expect from. Let's go ray tracing medium, go down to 2x, got everything, gonna go to quality. Quality is like a good way to play it with the 2x, 3x, 4x, whatever you want to do there, because it gets it down enough, but then you can bring it back up with that frame generation. Once you start getting over 50 milliseconds on your PCL, though, we might want to go down to maybe a balanced setting. But as long as you're over 50, I would say, just leave it right here at the highest quality setting of DLSS that does not go over 50 milliseconds, if that makes any sense. And we're not over 50 here, so this is 128, 130 FPS here. Jump down to settings, and then we're going to kick it over to 4x. See what we can expect here. So this is 228 FPS, again, well beyond the refresh of my 180 hertz monitor here. 42 on our PCL, looking really, really good though. This is quite a nice way to play it as well. Everything's just a play style preference at this point. This card's going to probably do just fine for most people on this title. All right, so let's just go on into the very next level. Let's come down here, go to 2x. Bring this up to not overdrive, just go over. All right, so ray tracing ultra, go to that quality, go to 2x. Let's see what our PCL is right here at this setting. So we give it a little bit of time to kind of sort itself out. PCL is right at 44 milliseconds, so you don't even really need to go any higher on your DLSS. 40 milliseconds is nice. For those who want to see a little bit more, I'll go to balanced on this setting, and then performance, since we're a little bit higher in our demands. All right, so let's just jump over and do that. So I will kick it over to balanced here. All right, so that's, let's see what that gives us, 133 FPS. Balance still looks really good. 137 FPS. 43 milliseconds on our PCL. Not getting us under 40, but pretty much dead 40 flat, which is kind of nice. All right, so we are going to kick it over one more time and come down here. We're going to go over to the performance setting, leave it on 2x. All right, so we're here on performance DLSS. So we've got a 2x frame gen. PCL's looking like 35 milliseconds with the ultra ray tracing. We're not path tracing yet, but we'll definitely need that frame gen in a minute. But yeah, we're looking like this would be another optimal way to play it if you want a lower PCL and don't really care about super high refresh. My panel is a 180, like I said earlier, so I'm pretty high. This would be okay. But yeah, let's jump over and kick on some. Let's see, let's do 4x first. Forgot to do that one. Let's do 4x just to get that out of the way. All right, so that gives you, let's look at it, 160 FPS, yeah, or 260 FPS with a 41 millisecond PCL, and that looks, very, very high. I mean, that's to have this kind of frame rate with PCL that's under 50 milliseconds is quite nice. It's very impressive because I am someone who likes to have, around 50 to 80. Anything under 50 is the most ideal situation for me. But yeah, this feels really good. Super fluid, very, very fluid. All right, so let's go into the settings and kick on that path tracing, which would be overdrive. We're going to go to quality DLSS, and then we're going to kick it to 2x. So if you remember, this was just under 60 whenever we did not have any frame generation. Now we're looking at about 90 FPS with a PCL right at 50, 51 milliseconds. This would probably be how I would play it, because I find the PCL being around 50 is just fine, especially on a controller. Anything over 60 in the title like this is perfectly okay to me. And Yeah, so 90 FPS, nothing to scoff at for sure. Let's see what 4X does before we close out, just to give you everything. All right, so there's 4X frame gen. Let's see what that does to our PCL. So 4X frame gen raises our PCL a little bit, about 56, about 4 milliseconds, which is, you know, imperceptible, honestly, between. I don't think anybody can tell what 4 milliseconds would feel like, but 170 FPS with a PCL of 62. So it is a little bit higher, about 10 actually, about 10 milliseconds. But yeah, that's going to wrap this up. This has just kind of been a good look at it. Cyberpunk on 5080 widescreen resolution. If you got any other games you want to see me test at this resolution, please let me know in the comments below. And until next time, we'll see you later. Peace.